is a very special gift that each and every one of us have. And it's a gift given to us by God, but He does it in a way that He communicates with us a special message. In fact, we know that we can communicate with God in many ways. We call it prayer, and we speak to God, we hear God in prayer. But there are other things that go on as well that allow us to communicate. We read the Bible, we meditate on it. We may have different forms of prayer, and we may pray individually or as a community. And all of those are forms of communication between God and us. Thomas Merton wrote the book, New Seeds of Contemplation, talking about how there are seeds that are in our lives every day that can lead us to contemplate more the presence of Christ. But when we look at the Eucharist, we see it is a special form of communication that God gives to us. We can go anywhere in the world, whether we speak the language or we don't, and we know exactly what the Eucharist is. You've seen it, the host in the lunette, which is in the monstrance, which is that big starburst design that you find in monstrances all over the world. And there it is, it stands on the altar, and we look at it, and we know that Christ is present in a special way. Now, we know Christ is always present, but we know He's present in a special way in that monstrance. We know that we are in the presence of Christ, and what does He say to us? I am with you. I worked in a parish once that had 4 language communities. Think about that. It was English, Spanish, Khmer, and Vietnamese. 4 language communities. And yet, when we had the monstrance on the altar with the host in the lunette, everyone knew what that meant, regardless of whether we spoke the language or not. They looked at that and they said, Christ is present. And you know, each community adored Christ in the Eucharist in a special way. In fact, the words are different. I don't know the words in Khmer. I don't know the words in Vietnamese, but I know the words in English and Spanish. In English, we call it the Blessed Sacrament. In Spanish and in Portuguese, we call it Santíssimo, which means the Most Holy. And we recognize what that is. Christ is present. But what is He communicating? The answer is simple. I am with you. But when we look at the response, we can see another message. All people who recognize Christ are before Him and recognize His presence in the Eucharist. And so they come together as a community. They may adore in different ways, but they all recognize who this is. And so that's the other part of the message. Come to me as a community. Be united in faith and come follow me. Paul reminds us that we are called to be one in Christ. Remember that line when he says, you know, what did someone follow Apollos and someone follow Paul and someone follow Barnabas? And he said, no, we all follow Christ as a community, as one. And therefore, it doesn't matter what language we speak, where we are, what country we are in, we all come and follow and serve Christ as one holy Catholic Church. That's the other message of the Eucharist. The message of the Santíssimo, the message of the Blessed Sacrament, that most holy Corpus Christi that we recognize in the Eucharist. God bless you.